Hello YouTube, my name is Nero. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest craze to hit mainstream media, gaming disorder. So what is gaming disorder? Well, according to the World Health Organization and its new international classification of diseases, gaming disorder is a mental health condition caused by playing video games that is very similar to when people get addicted to heroin or have a gambling problem. They claim that gaming disorder is a very serious clinical condition, and the hope is that with it now being part of the international classification of diseases, that it will become more widely accepted as a real issue, and that means more medical professionals will be able to deal with it, more therapists will study gaming disorder, and insurance companies will start covering it as a real mental health problem. That all sounds well and good, but there's just one issue I have with this entire situation. Gaming disorder is not a real thing, and this is nothing but blame shifting from actual mental health disorders. Over the course of the past couple of days, this has been blowing up, with pretty much every news outlet in the world talking about it, and all of them are so uninformed. Like, none of these people actually play video games, yet they are pushing this agenda that gaming disorder is a real thing, and that video games are the cause of pretty much all the problems in the entire world. One of the few people I've seen making sense in all this would be Anthony Bean, who is a licensed psychologist, a researcher, and he's also the head of the Telos Project in Texas. He claims that when he finds people who think they're addicted to video games, oftentimes they find that they're just using video games as a coping mechanism for depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders. He also claims that the current definition used to define gaming disorder is far too broad, and because of that, most of the time, people are going to be falsely diagnosed by somebody who doesn't know anything about video games, and he also claims that if this goes forward, it opens up the door for pretty much anything to be a disorder or a sickness or an illness, which is definitely something I agree with, and I also think it's something that we don't see the mainstream media ever bringing up whatsoever. If somebody spends the majority of their day watching sports on television, they're considered to be a normal person. If somebody binge watches Stranger Things or The Walking Dead on Netflix, that's pretty normal behavior. If a teenager spends countless hours on their phone jumping between Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, well, they're just an average teenager, right? But heaven forbid any of those people play video games. If you play video games as a hobby, you're likely sick and you require treatment. It seems like every single year there's some new push to try to take down video games, whether it's blaming them for the violence in the world or using them as an excuse for bad parenting. Video games are always in the crosshairs of people who don't actually know anything about them. One of my favorite lines from the New York Times article regarding this situation, which by the way, link to that and all my sources down there in the description, in there's this woman who has a 24-year-old son who dropped out of college, lives at home, does not have a job, and plays video games for 16 hours a day. It specifically says in the article, "At times, I walk by and hear the tap-tapping on his keyboard, and it'll make me shudder." Now keep in mind, this woman believes that the reason why her 24-year-old son lives at home, does not have a job, and plays video games all day is because he's addicted to them, right? At no point did she consider that maybe she's a bad parent, she didn't consider that maybe her son has an actual underlying mental illness, or maybe that her son is just a loser with no real aspirations in life because he knows he can just live at home playing video games all day because his mother supports him in that decision. None of those crossed her mind even once because it just has to be the video game's fault, right? Shifting blame does not solve the real issues. Now, in the interest of fairness, the World Health Organization did claim that they believe that no more than 3% of gamers are actually affected by gaming disorder, but even then, that's still taking it way too far. If you look at any community out there, there will always be some outliers, right? I would not be surprised whatsoever to find that 3% of people in any community have severe depression or anxiety issues or mental health problems of some kind, but for some reason, it's always gaming that gets singled out. This happens way too often. It's gaming's fault there's violence in the world. It's gaming's fault there are school shootings. It's gaming's fault that mental health issues exist. It's gaming's fault that parents can't raise their kids right. It's gaming's fault that sexism exists. It's gaming's fault that people are lazy. Like, when is this going to stop? This is very analogous to back when the media used to claim that rock and roll was corrupting America's core value system, that the Looney Tunes were teaching kids to be violent, and that Bart Simpson was the literal Antichrist. It's all an absolute bunch of nonsense. nonsense, but regardless of all that, it's looking like gaming disorder is going to be a real thing going forward. I would love to hear what you guys think about this down there in the comment section below. Do you think that gaming disorder is a real thing? Do you think it's just them shifting blame from real mental health issues? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down there in the comment section below. And obviously, I'm very passionate about this topic because I've been a gamer my entire life, and I've been watching how this has developed over the years, and I hate how the mainstream media, and now apparently health organizations, treat video games and gamers in general. They never discuss the good that gaming can bring or the positive impact that it has on hundreds of millions of lives across the world. Instead, we just have a bunch of people who know literally nothing about what they're talking about, making up reasons for why video games are bad, and then spewing that misinformation all across the world via their websites and their news shows and their articles and stuff like that. Mental health is real health. It needs to be taken seriously, and making up fake mental illnesses instead of treating the real ones does absolutely no good for anybody. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. I wonder if this is going to have a major impact on what's happening right now. Will we start seeing gaming addiction becoming a big thing? Are we going to start seeing that on insurance policies? Are we going to see gaming addiction camps and retreats popping up all over the world suddenly? Time will tell, I suppose, but until then, that's all I have for you guys here in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section below, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.